Welcome, Gregory. Sorry I didn't make MME this morning. I did a stupid thing yesterday. I did a 5 mile, 1,000 elevation hike um, in the mountains here, and even though I did pretty good with it, afterwards I was messed up. Um, I even had a talk last night, and I didn't do too good because my mind was very, very hard to think. And then I was trying to go to bed and I couldn't get to bed till 1 a.m. I had all kinds of cramps. It was pretty rough. So I didn't make MME this morning. I let myself sleep in. Hello, Gretchen. Hello, Corey. Can you hear me? How's audio, video, connection? Yeah, yeah. I have naturally low. I think I have kind of like a low electrolyte level in general. So I always have to be very careful if I'm exerting myself, you know, my electrolytes drop like a rock. So that's all it was. Okay, very good. So in the new system, we don't wait uh, so many minutes because we're a little bit on a time frame. So we're going to get started with the beginning chanting. Let's see, where are we? Here we are. Uttana Sutta. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Uttahatta nisidatta koato supate navo. Atora nahan kika nidda salavidana rupatang. Uttahatta nisidatta dalhang sikatta santiya mavopamate vinyaya machuraja amohitaya vasanuge yaya deva manusacha sita titantiyatika tara tehang visittikang kanovo ma upagjaga Kanatita hisochanti nirayami samapita pamado rajo pamado pamadano nupetito rajo apamadena vijaya abahe salamatu matanoti. English? Wake up, make an effort. Get up and sit. What need of sleep? For the sick, what rest is there, pierced by the dart of pain? Get up and sit, train hard for peace. Let not Mara know that you are negligent, deluded, and under his control. Cross beyond this craving, tied to desiring which gods and men remain. Don't let this chance pass by. Those who do so grieve, sending themselves to hell. From dust arises negligence, from negligence to more. By diligence and knowledge, pluck out the dart oneself. Sadhu. All right, friends, welcome to another Dhammapalooza. And as we normally do, we do some meditation now. So set your body up in whatever comfortable and stable position works for you. Corey, have you heard one of my guided meditations before? I don't know if you're new or not. All right. So we'll begin by doing a mindful scan of the body, starting from the feet, moving up to the head. We do this for two reasons. The first is to slowly bring our mind from the busy activity of the day towards focusing on more subtle, harder to follow things like the breath. And the second, this practice allows us to understand our posture and our body in a deep way so that we can set ourselves up to meditate for longer periods of time with less pain and imbalance. So start by placing your focus on the feet. By placing focus, this means to focus in on whatever feeling or sensation is arising in your feet, such as the feeling of the feet pressing against the floor, the opposite leg, etc. Move up through the ankles into the calves. Through the knees and into the thighs. What's the feeling of the thighs pressing against the chair, the cushion? Whenever you do this practice, if you notice a small imbalance in your posture or a small feeling of discomfort, you use this time to adjust your posture. The idea is to move around as much as you need now, so you move around less later. Your mind cannot go deep into calm and tranquility if the mind and the body are fidgeting all over. Move up to the hips and pelvis, paying attention to the angle of the pelvis and how that impacts your body, both from the lower the legs and as we move up the spine. There are certain parts of the body that are the most important for the posture, such as the knees, the pelvis, the spine, etc. Move up the spine through the abdomen and the chest, checking that the spine is not leaning or slouching backwards or forwards, left or right. Also, make sure that you're not forcing the spine to be very straight. All of these can cause pain or constrict the breathing. Ideally, you want the spine to just be resting in its normal curvature, not putting too much of your weight on the backrest of the chair if you're sitting in one. Try to keep in mind the idea of giving your upper body the ability to freely breathe without any constriction. And up to the shoulders, making sure they're hanging loosely, not scrunched up and tight. And down through to the elbows and hands, observing how the position of the elbows and hands also impacts your posture. And finally up to the head, checking that the head is also not leaning or slouching, chin parallel to the floor. When you're done setting up your body in a comfortable and stable position, let the body go and take 3 deep breaths. And then let the breath go. From here on in, try not to manipulate or control the breath in any way. The body has been breathing from the moment you were born and will continue to do so until the second you die. Doesn't need you to do its job. Your job is to simply observe, investigate, and abide with the breath as the body breathes in and the body breathes out. As you follow the breath, your mind will become bored, will seek to run away to the past or the future, across the world, into various stories and fantasies, or an external distraction like a sound will arise. Your mind will get agitated and chase after it. When this happens, you're totally lost in fantasy thought worlds. But after a time, it will just start to dawn on you that you have been taken away from the breath. At that point, fully acknowledge you've been taken away from the breath. Try to start coming back to mindfulness and focus. Practice letting go of the distraction by neither getting agitated and trying to push it away, nor by continuing to be infatuated and excited by it. Try to do your best to give it no further effort, energy, or attention. To let it go as it came, and then return to the breath. So, whenever you get distracted away, acknowledge, let go, and return over and over. Train your mind to stay with the breath. Acknowledge, let go, and return. Come back to the breath. The breath is always there doing its job, ready for you to come follow it towards a more calm and tranquil mind. The breath is home base. Always come back home. Every once in a while, check in with the state of your mind. Is your mind becoming more calm and tranquil or not? As it does, you may begin to notice more subtle, refined aspects of the breath. Sometimes the breath is long and deep, sometimes short and shallow. See if you can do your best to focus in on these subtle characteristics of change and impermanence. The breath never staying the same from cycle to cycle, always something a little different. Slowly start to open your eyes, becoming aware of the room around you, your body's position in it. Reflecting on the state of your mind before and after the meditation, and contemplating any experiences that may have stood out. Hello, Visaka. I'm doing okay. There's been various things in my Colorado trip that has impacted stability of like streaming and things like that, but that's just how it goes. Most important is that I'm here and making some good headway. All right. So now is the time of Dhammapalooza to have like the little daily practice tips. And one of the ones that was suggested was how to meditate on anicca. But when you follow your breath, you're meditating on anicca. But maybe the better question is how to contemplate, how to investigate anicca, the impermanence, unstable, and undependable nature of all existence. Probably the most practical way is to start to train your mind to see it. Start to train your mind in small little ways every day to see that everything around you is unstable and undependable. Things are changing, things are moving, things are arising, things are ceasing. People, places, experiences, physical items, all of these things. Things break down. There's lots of ways that you can train your mind to see impermanence, to see anicca, which goes against the stream. It's not an easy thing, but you can do that with very basic things in your life. It's not like you have to go to on retreat and and sit in meditation for 8 hours to train yourself to see anicca. You can do that in your daily life all day, every day, observing how things are unstable and undependable, of the nature of changing. Train your mind to do that. Train your mind to see, as opposed to our normal MO, which is ignore, ignore, ignore. We don't want to investigate the instability and undependability of all the things we hold dear. That's not, who would want to do that? That's ridiculous. So you train your mind to see anicca. And this is a very beautiful, wonderful, important practice. You can see anicca internally in this mind and body, and externally out in the world, other people, etc. You can do that. So now I'll give a minute or two to see if anybody has any questions. There's not that many of us. Um, Probably won't have too many questions, but what we can do is finish up um, the Samaditi Sutta, the Right View Sutta. We're about halfway from a couple of weeks ago when we read. All right. Share screen. Now, just as a summary, this sutta has Venerable Sariputta being asked, is there another way that one might understand right view? Is there another way? Is there another way? So in this sutta, Sariputta is kind of requested to cover a variety of different angles of right view. Might there be another way to describe a noble disciple that has right view? There might reference a noble disciple understands grasping, its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation. But what is grasping? What is its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation? There are these four kinds of grasping: grasping at sensual pleasures, views, precepts and observances, and theories of self. Grasping originates from craving. Grasping ceases when craving ceases. The practice that leads to the cessation of grasping is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. Might there be another way to describe a noble disciple? There might, Reverence. A noble disciple understands craving, its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation. But what is craving? What is its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation? There are these 6 classes of craving: craving for sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and ideas. That's the external sense basis. Craving originates from feeling. Craving ceases when feeling ceases. The practice that leads to the cessation of craving is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. Might there be another way to describe a noble disciple? There might, Reverence. Remember, this is a noble disciple who has right view. So this is being ellipsed and shortened because there's this question is being asked many, many times. But that is what is being asked. A noble disciple understands feeling, its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation. But what is feeling? What is its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation? There are 6 classes of feeling. Feelings born of contact through the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Feelings originate from contact. Feeling ceases when contact ceases. The practice that leads to the cessation of feeling is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. Might there be another way to describe a noble disciple? There might, Reverence. A noble disciple understands contact, its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation. But what is contact? What is its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation? There are 6 classes of contact through the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Remember, contact, passa, is the meaning of 3 things. The eye forms, so the internal sense base, the external sense base, and eye consciousness, so being awake and having consciousness through the eye. The meaning of the 3 is contact. Contact originates from the 6 sense fields. Contact ceases when the 6th sense field ceases. The practice that leads to the cessation of contact is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. Might there be another way to describe a noble disciple? There might, Reverence. A noble disciple understands the 6 sense fields, their origin, their cessation, and the practice that leads to their cessation. But what are the 6 sense fields? What is their origin, their cessation, and the practice that leads to their cessation? There are these 6 sense fields, the sense fields of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. The 6 sense fields originate from Namarupa, name and form. The 6 sense fields cease when name and form cease. The practice that leads to the cessation of the 6 sense fields is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. Might there be another way to describe a noble disciple? There might, Reverence. A noble disciple understands name and form, their origin, their cessation, and the practice that leads to their cessation. But what are name and form? What is their origin? What is their cessation, and what is the practice that leads to their cessation? So if you ever wanted to know what name and form is, this is one of the places where it's described. Feeling, perception, intention. These sound familiar, some of these, right? The aggregates. Contact and application of mind. So this is Namarupa. Feeling, perception, intention, contact, the sense-based contact, and application of mind. This is called Nama, Name. The 4 primary elements and form derived from the four primary elements. This is called form. Such as name and such as form. This is called name and form. Name and form originate from consciousness. Name and form cease when consciousness ceases. This practice that leads to the cessation of name and form is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. Might there be another way to describe a noble disciple? There might, Reverence. A noble disciple understands consciousness, its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation. But what is consciousness? What is its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation? There are these six classes of consciousness: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind consciousness. Consciousness originates from choices, sankharas. Uh, Consciousness ceases when choices ceases. The practice that leads to the cessation of consciousness is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. Might there be another way to describe a noble disciple? There might, Reverence. A noble disciple understands choices, their origin, their cessation, and the practice that leads to their cessation. But what are choices? What is their origin, their cessation, and the practice that leads to their cessation? There are these three kinds of choice: choice by way of body, speech, and mind. Choices originate from ignorance. Choices cease when ignorance ceases. The practice that leads to the cessation of choices is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. Might there be another way to describe a noble disciple? There might, Reverence. A noble disciple understands ignorance, its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation. But what is ignorance? What is its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation? Not knowing about suffering, the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering. This is called ignorance. Ignorance originates from defilements. Ignorance ceases when defilements cease. The practice that leads to the cessation of ignorance is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. Saying, "Good, sir." Those mendicants approved and agreed with what Sariputta had said. Then they asked another question. But, Reverend, might there be another way to describe a noble disciple who has right view, whose view is correct, who has experiential confidence in the teaching and has come to the true teaching? There might, Reverence. A noble disciple understands defilements, its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation. When they've done this, they're defined as a noble disciple who has right view, whose view is correct, who has experiential confidence in the teaching and has come to the true teaching. But what is defilement? What is its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation? There are these three defilements: defilements of sensuality, desire to be reborn, and ignorance. Defilement originates from ignorance. Defilement ceases when ignorance ceases. The practice that leads to the cessation of defilement is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. That is, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right immersion. A noble disciple understands in this way defilement, its origin, its cessation, and the practice that leads to its cessation. They've completely given up the underlying tendency to greed, got rid of the underlying tendency to repulsion, and eradicated the underlying tendency to the view and conceit I am. They've given up ignorance and given rise to knowledge, and made an effort and make an end of suffering in this very life. When they've done this, they're defined as a noble disciple who has a right view, whose view is correct, who has experiential confidence in the teaching, and has come to the true teaching. This is what the Venerable Sariputta said. Satisfied, the mendicants approved of what Sariputta said. Sadhu. For next week we'll have Satipatthana Sutta. So why don't we read some Dhammapada, and then we'll probably call that at about an hour. I think that's good. the just. Not by passing arbitrary judgments does a man become just. A wise man is he who investigates both right and wrong. He who does not judge others arbitrarily, but passes judgment impartially according to the truth. That sagacious man is a guardian of law and is called just. One is not wise because one speaks much. He who is peaceable, friendly, and fearless is called wise. A man is not versed in the Dhamma because he speaks much. He who, after hearing little Dhamma, realizes truth directly and is not heedless of it, is truly versed in the Dhamma. A monk is not an elder because his head is gray. He is but ripe in age, and he is called one grown old and vain. One in whom there is truthfulness, virtue, and offensiveness, restraint, and self-mastery, who is free from defilements and is wise, he is truly called an elder. Not by mere eloquence, nor by beauty of form, does a man become accomplished, if he is jealous, selfish, and deceitful. But he in whom there are wholly destroyed, uprooted, and extinct, and who has cast out hatred, that wise man is truly accomplished. Not by shaven head does a man who is undisciplined and untruthful become a monk. How can he who is full of desire and greed become a monk? He who wholly subdues evil, both small and great, is called a monk because he has overcome all evil. He is not a monk just because he lives on others' alms. Not by adopting outward form does one become a true monk. However, here in the dispensation lives a holy life, transcending both merit and demerit, and walks with understanding in this world. He is truly called a monk. Not by observing silence does one become a sage, if he be foolish and ignorant. But that man is wise who, as if holding a balanced scale, accepts only the good. The sage, thus rejecting the evil, is truly a sage, since he comprehends both present and future worlds. He is called a sage. He is not noble who injures living beings. He is called noble because he is harmless towards all living beings. Not by rules and observances, not even by much learning, nor by gain of absorption, nor by a life of seclusion, nor by thinking I enjoy the bliss of renunciation, which is not experienced by a worldling, should you, O monks, rest content until the utter destruction of the cankers is reached. All right. Any final questions, comments, clarifications before we do the... I'll give it a minute, see if anything pops up in the chat, and if nothing, then we will share merits and call it a night. Hello, Joseph. Welcome. We did some meditation. We did some sutta readings. It's a good Dhamma session. Dukkha patta chane dukkha, bhaya patta chane bhaya, sokha patta chane sokha, hontu sabbe vipaniyo, etavata chamehi sampatang punya sampatang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Sasanang. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we've thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, friends. Suki Hotu, may you be happy and at ease. Practice well and be well. May you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again, which, if I'm alive, should be next Monday for another Dhammapalooza. So have a good week.